Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Elspeth von Draken, who's the new legendary lord added in Thrones of Decay for the Empire. So this campaign here is the one that we live streamed a week or so ago. We did 2 episodes of it, and I thoroughly enjoyed this campaign. I would have really liked to have continued it a bit further, but I really got stuck into the Malachi McCason campaign, which I spent a lot more time on. So this campaign starts at Nuln, that's her starting settlement, and she is at war with a generic vampire count faction, or a minor vampire count faction, that has 4 regions across 2 different provinces. Gelt has moved from Fyldorf over to Cathay, leaving this area vacant for you to occupy. So you're in a really strong position to take on a very easy early game army, and after just one war, you've got 5 settlements across 2 provinces, giving you a lot of resources to work with. And also fighting such an easy enemy with the initial gunpowder units that you get, it's a good way to get a lot of schematics so that you can use your faction mechanic, which we'll get into in just a bit. After you've dealt with that, you're pretty heavily incentivized to just go straight after Vlad von Carstein. You don't have to deal with a lot of the problems that Karl Franz will have to deal with, and as the AI Karl Franz will usually sort of keep that stuff off your borders. You don't have to deal with Grom, you don't have to deal with Heinrich Kemmler, Kazrak One Eye, and you probably will have to deal with Festus to some degree, but you won't at least have him invading you that early on. You got plenty of room to wiggle to focus in on Vlad von Carstein. Taking him out very early on is a lot easier than letting him build up and have 10 full stacks of spam everything just barreling down at you from all angles and causing massive imperial authority decline, causing problems internally as well as externally through Vlad. So taking him out early is really good. And of course, controlling the 2 provinces here in Sylvania gives you access to a hell of a lot of resources. So once you've taken that out, you're in a really strong position to just do whatever you want after that, because those are the main difficult enemies. So I would say that Elspeth's campaign is pretty on the easy side. Pretty easy beginning, medium sort of difficulty here, and then the rest of it gets pretty easy. Her faction mechanics are also very powerful. So talking just briefly about the updated for everyone's, as in every Empire faction's rework, the Imperial Authority mechanic now is really quite a light touch for Elspeth von Draken. It's really just a case of just try to keep it at least above this point here, above 50, so that you're not suffering any penalties, but you're not going to get any dilemmas or anything, and you don't use the elector count system. And confederating the other Empire factions is simply a case of diplomacy, and it's really not that difficult to even get a confederation with Karl Franz. As you can see here, we confederated him by turn 53, so I thought that was pretty easy. In terms of her main mechanics, there's quite a lot going on here. It's very reminiscent of Ikit Claw's mechanic. I feel like the UI is different, obviously, but the way that it functions is very similar. You use your faction resource, in this case the schematics, which you obtain by just fighting and winning battles using gun troops. Obviously, the more guns you have, that dishing out damage, the more schematics that you get, obviously the more enemies that you kill as well. So big battles, you can end up getting quite a lot of schematics, even up to like more than 1,000. And then you spend those schematics on permanent bonuses in the Imperial Armory, ranking this up from tier 1 to tier 4, very similar to Ikit Claw's mechanic. There's nothing wrong with that. Ikit Claw's mechanic is amazing. Everybody loves that. But it's just that it is basically identical in terms of function. And then, based on which units that you are using the most of, you upgrade them and get various benefits. Very reminiscent of Ikit Claw's campaign. But then on top of that, you've got the Amethyst Armory, allowing you to basically use... This is sort of what you will spend your really late game schematics on, because this is where you have to purchase each individual unit of these Amethyst ones. Each one will cost you more than the one that came before it. There's a limit to how many you can put in each army. You can upgrade them further. Like these ones here, they will be upgraded from this one here. As you can see, this one upgrades the Amethyst Hellstorm Rocket Battery, which, by the way, that is ridiculously powerful. Adding an additional projectile at each level there, that's just insane. Basically, more than doubling their power output there. And then on top of that, you've got even more going on here. And then, once you've done all that, you can spend on basically kind of like Ikit's nuke, except way smaller in impact. But if you've got enough schematics, you really can use multiple of these on a single battle. just dependent on the amount of schematics that you have. So there's really no limit to how many schematics that you should get, because you're always going to want more. It's a pretty good mechanic, it's very easy to use, and gives you a lot of incentive to just play the game as it's intended and get rewards for doing well. So good mechanic there. Then on top of that, you've got the Garden of Morr, which this one here is really just focused on Elspeth herself, allowing her to teleport between various different Gardens of Morr that you have to build. So building one will cost you some money, and you can build it in any friendly Empire settlement. It doesn't have to be owned by you. But for example, the dwarfs, I can't put it over here. It doesn't have to be specifically within the Empire either. So once you've eventually met Balthazar Gelt, which is kind of how you do it, you wait for a caravan to pop in, preferably from the western provinces. Pop in, meet them, get a defensive or military alliance with them. That'll give you line of sight. It should eventually allow you to see Gelt. Negotiate with Gelt, get an alliance with him. You'll be able to see his territory, set up a Garden of Morr, and then you can teleport Elspeth over there if you want. Or you can send a hero and take 40 turns to get there, assuming you don't get assassinated on the way. Same sort of thing with Volkmar the Grim in Araby and Marcus Wolfheart in Lustria. Now, just to point out, because some people ask this kind of stuff, factions that are considered southern realms are not Empire. So the Border Princes, Tilia, Estalia, the minor faction that starts near Mazdamundi, those guys don't count. They have to be specifically part of the Empire, and technically Marienburg is also considered Empire, even though there are like a defected elector count. So you can put that pretty much anywhere within Empire-owned territory. And this doesn't just give you a place to teleport Elspeth around, it also gives you a pretty nifty building that you can put in these spots. So even if you don't intend to teleport back to that spot, which obviously you should put it somewhere where you intend to teleport, there are some pretty significant benefits here. So Amethyst College, increasing your Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity plus 10 faction wide. It's really good that we're really starting to see a lot of these Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity increases. Even for the dwarfs, they're actually getting access to some of this stuff now. So the hard cap of 100 at the initial launch of Warhammer 3, that's really gone out the window, and it's quite common now to see armies with a maximum of 200 or even 300 Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity, just due to the small global bonuses that you'll find along the place. So yeah, you can build quite a few of these Gardens of Morr if you want to build that one. There's also this one here, the Militia of Morr, giving you... This is really good if you need to recruit an emergency army. I mean, global recruitment duration -2 in that region allows you to build an army really quickly. And then you've got the Temple of Morr there, giving... Like, if you build enough of these, you can get the replenishment rate of the Knights of Morr Elector Count's troops down so quickly that you can probably get one every single turn, because there's various benefits here as well. So you don't need to build 10 of them. So you can get them very quickly, if that is something that you want to focus on. And it really just depends on what you want. Elspeth is extremely powerful on the battlefield. She rides a Carmine Dragon. That's the only one in the game. I've turned off voices in the sound just because otherwise it gets a bit annoying listening to them. In terms of her preferred army, just guns. Any type of guns, she boosts them. So you don't need to have a one type unit doom stack. You can do whatever you want, just give her guns. I've given her quite a few heroes in here as well, and I've just been sort of mix and matching. She's obviously got a lot of Amethyst units here, which have been performing remarkably well. And she is very powerful in the battlefield. She's reduced the upkeep of them. She's very easily the best death wizard in the campaign. She has regeneration. She's just super powerful on the battlefield. She doesn't provide a hell of a lot of global bonuses for her entire faction, and she doesn't boost her army that much personally. So if you're playing as any other faction and you confederate Elspeth, you might find that her boosts for your faction are not that big of a deal. She's just a really good spellcaster. But overall, I really enjoyed this campaign. I think that the mechanics are good. A little bit familiar with the Imperial Gunnery School stuff, because obviously I played a ton of Vicar Claw, so it felt a bit familiar. But honestly, I think this is a great campaign. So if you really want to get your teeth stunk into a good Empire campaign, my first recommendation would definitely be to go and check out Elspeth von Draken, especially if you're newer to the game. I think that this one, obviously DLC campaigns should not necessarily be the first recommended campaign, but Carl Francis' campaign, especially Legendary difficulty, can be quite rough, and Elspeth's campaign is nowhere near as rough, and it really just depends on what you personally enjoy. But yeah, good starter campaign, I think, for the Empire. Good way to learn their mechanics. Good powerful mechanic. with her faction mechanics and the Empire rework. Bit of a light touch for her, but it works quite well, you know, because you are in the Empire and you want to make sure that Empire factions own these settlements here, giving you, decent bonuses. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Elspeth's campaign. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite of the Thrones of Decay campaign. It was initially, until I played Malachi's campaign. He is currently my favorite. I would rank Elspeth as the second best of the Thrones of Decay Legendary Lords in terms of just fun factor for Thrones of Decay. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.